Okay. My name is Olami Fashino. I'm a legal practitioner and a trained penetration tester, and I'm your host for this webinar. I welcome you all to this webinar on securing your data in digital age. As most of us know, the digital space thrives on data. Like every click, every swipe, every transaction, everything we do involves the exchange of our personal data. Let's think about it. When you want to sign up on a website or an app, we are required to fill a form that includes our name, that you have to put your name, date of birth, country, email, phone number, etc. And even when you want to purchase something online, you ask for sensitive information such as your credit card number, debit card number in Nigeria, and your CVV. All these things might seem harmless, but a lot goes into it. Like our data are shared without our knowledge, or they haven't gotten without our knowledge, the use of AI now. Lastly, cyber criminals also use our data for their fraudulent activities. They mine this data. Let me just tell you, this data costs money in the black market. So in this webinar, we have two knowledgeable speakers, Favour Ndii and Yemisi, that will speak to us from the legal aspects and technical aspects on how to secure our data online. So without further ado, I would like to introduce the first speaker, Yemisi. So let me share my screen as I read a profile. So Yemisi Aponjolosun is a cybersecurity student of the Federal University of Technology Akure with extensive experience in penetration testing, vulnerability assignment, management, and threat intelligence. She is passionate about safeguarding organizations from cyber threats and making security awareness to keep individuals informed. In addition to her technical expertise, Yemisi is also a creative individual with a love for craft, handwork, cooking, and indoor dancing. Yemisi will be talking to us about how cyber criminals mine our data, the techniques and the tactics they use. So over to you, Yemisi. So let me stop. You can share your screen.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, as we all know, my name is Yemisi. Please let me share my screen. Mm, Okay. Okay. Can we all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes, you can.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me and good afternoon. So today we'll be talking about cybersecurity trends and threats and how cyber criminals mine data. Like Bossy has said, presently there's a lot of attacks going on. We have so many things ongoing in the internet presently that we want to put in place a measure and ways to know how we want to safeguard ourselves. We want to understand how the cyber criminals actually go about these things, both the technical aspect and the legal aspect. So today we'll just be this is an overview of what we'll be talking about. We're talking about the cyber threats. We'll be discussing some trends. We'll move on to data mining and the methods that these criminals use to mine our data. We'll be talking about how we can actually protect ourselves from these attackers mining our data, and then we move on to conclusion. So cyber threats, these are actually malicious actions that are intended to compromise our data. So cyber criminals, they try to make use of these measure to harvest our data and make use of them in a malicious way. And the types of these threats, we'll be discussing just four before we move on to the trends. We have the malware. I believe that a couple of us know what malwares are. Examples are viruses, trojans, ransomware. Viruses, on the other hand, it comes in as a malware, a malicious software that infects your devices and thereby disrupting the function of your system. Trojans they come in as they try to hide themselves in a valid file, like in a legitimate file, hiding their existence, that is hiding the existence of a malware, and thereby also causing disruption in your system. Ransomware would affect your system, will lock your file, and all they need from you is for you to make an amount of payment to get back your details. We move on to the SQL injection. So this SQL, the way attackers do this is that they modify and delete details. They modify and delete important facts in codes. It could be on a website. At times they could just include payload to make the website start malfunctioning. Another one is the MFA. We know that multi-factor authentication is supposed to be a measure to protect ourselves, right? But then what happens when MFA is being bypassed? When OTP that is supposed to be another layer of security is being bypassed, what happens? Attackers are beginning to evolve. They are trying to make themselves better, right? In these things, they're trying to bypass even our own security that we're trying to put in place to safeguard ourselves and our devices. So MFA itself, this is just me letting you know that MFA itself can be bypassed. And the last one is going to be for the threat is going to be the denial of service attack. So denial of service attack is going to occur and is going to try to ensure that a site is not functioning as it's intended to. An organization like a financial organization like a bank now, they have their mobile application for customers to perform transactions, right? But what happens when attackers decide to ensure that customers can't function, they can't make use of their mobile application, they just run a downtime, and that moment nothing is going on. Customers are beginning to complain, oh, this bank, we are having issues, I can't log in, I can't do this, I can't do that. Criminals, cyber criminals, they try to ensure that they attack both individuals and organizations. I want us to move on to the cybersecurity trends that actually pose significant and potential risk. Work from home. This work from home attack, they were not prevalent before COVID-19 started. It was until COVID-19 started that it now became more prevalent. I mean, there was the work from home attack, but it was not exactly prevalent like now. Now it started becoming more prevalent when COVID-19 started, right? And the way it happened was that more people had to work from home, right? Because we could not go to work. We had to bring our devices home, make use of whatever it is, our own personal internet. But these are actually measures and means that could actually pose more risk to these cyber criminals. It's something that could actually pose more risk to these threats. Another thing I want to discuss is the omni-channel cyber attacks. These omni-channel cyber attacks, in this present world where developers and software engineers, they are trying to develop a system whereby their users, that is their customers, are able to make use of multiple things in one channel. You want to create a software that would perform the function of different softwares. So it's like you're creating a channel whereby you can do multiple things at a time. And it's a means that actually deceives the users to thinking that these channels, these devices can provide authenticity, can provide integrity and safeguard their data, which is not true. In a way, these omni-channel cyber attacks, they don't occur at the first or second stage. Instead, they occur at the last stage. So it's even difficult for whatever it is that you have put in place to identify them. Another one I'm talking about is the IoT vulnerabilities. IoT is developing, is evolving, and according to research, by the year 2025, it's going to be, it would have increased with about 22 million. And IoT, these are things that we make use of, like our daily life, our daily activities is what we want to make use of. And the more there's an increase in IoT devices, definitely there's more vulnerabilities. Developers are bringing in more solutions, but thereby we are bringing in more issues because attackers are also trying to be what? To be ahead of us as security personnel. Another one is users as an attack surface. We all know that humans are the weakest links. We as humans, we are the weakest links. We are the ones that cyber attackers want to what? Want to go through to get into our organizations, to get into our workplace, to get to our family members. They start from somewhere. So we want to ensure that we ourselves, we do what? We protect ourselves. And we'll be talking about that when we get to the parts where we'll be thinking of how we want to do what? Protect ourselves from these cyber threats. The health sector will be the last trend I'll be talking about. The healthcare sector, they're actually at risk because there is actually no sector, financial health sector, that is not liable to cyber attack. And the disaster that health sector falling victim of a cyber attack can actually lead to death. It could be really fatal because if an health organization faces a cyber attack and there's a downtime, like all their facilities goes off, somebody who is running on oxygen would definitely die, right? People who are running on some particular facilities that require lights, that require the hospital running 24/7 would actually do what? It could lead to death. It could even lead to health complications. Now we want to move on to data mining. This is the process in which attackers, they try to do what? They try to get our data. They try to get important information from a large data set, from a large amount of information that they've gathered round. And what do they make use of this to do? They try to use it to do what? To commit identity theft. They try to use it to commit fraud. They try to use it to for even impersonation. And what are these things that they can actually get from us? It includes our names, our addresses, it includes our credit card numbers, it includes our social security numbers, it includes a whole lot of things that has to do with us. Your BVN, your NIN number. That is why they tell you that ensure that you keep your card safe. You don't want them just flying around. You don't want to be passing it across to just anybody. Now, we've talked about the threats, we've talked about the trends, we've also talked about what data mining actually is. Now,
Hello everyone. I think we've lost Yemisi.
Yeah, I can't hear.
Yeah.
I can't also hear.
Yeah, I think we've lost her. Let's just give her some minutes in
Network is bad.
Nigeria.
Okay.
Internet. Okay, I think we should go to the next speaker for now since Yemisi's network seems so then we'll come back to her later.
No, okay, she's still not back.
She's still not back. We'll come back to her later. Okay, so I will introduce the next speaker now. Let me share my screen.
We can also hear you. Oh, I can't hear you.
I'm so sorry. I didn't know I was
We can hear
muted.
you.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes, pardon me. Our next speaker is Favour Ndii. Favour Ndii is a distinguished legal practitioner currently pursuing a master's program in cyber law. With a profound understanding of legal intricacies, Favour has honed skills in navigating the evolving landscape of cyber law, ensuring a comprehensive grasp of digital legal frameworks. In addition to legal expertise, Favour brings a wealth of experience as a human resources professional, showcasing a unique blend of legal acumen and people management skills. Dedicated to staying at the forefront of legal advancement, Favour Ndii is poised to contribute valuable insights and strategic perspectives to any professional setting. Favour Ndii will be speaking to us on our rights as data subjects, people that share data or give us our data. So Favour Ndii, over to you. Let me.
Thank you very much, Bossy. I hope everybody can hear me. So,
Yes, I can.
Yes,
okay.
we can.
Okay, let me just quickly share my screen now. Okay. Yes. Okay. Okay, sorry about this. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Favour. And very briefly, I'll be speaking to us today on the rights of data subjects in Nigeria. So quickly, I'll just move to, give a brief definition. I believe that we all have an idea. We hear about it, human rights all the time. But I'll just quickly define that. So we have, we'll put things into context as we go on in our discussion. So rights basically connotes legal, social, or ethical principles of freedom or entitlement. Also, rights, they basically establish the fundamental normative rules of what is allowed to people or what is owed to them according to the legal system, social convention, or ethical theory. So in Nigeria, the principal data protection legislation is the Nigerian Data Protection Act. It was signed into law in June 2023. Considering how important data is now in the digital world, I think that the policymakers and government saw the need to, enact a legislation that would protect data subjects as they navigate the digital space. So Part 4 of the Nigerian Data Protection Act, particularly sections 35 to 39, stipulates the rights of data subjects. So just very quickly, again, to put things into context, I would define what a data subject means. So basically, a data subject is an individual, that is a person, a natural person to whom personal data, relates. So it is a person who can be identified with that personal data, and the personal data we are speaking of here could be your name, your phone number, your biometrics, whatever it says that, can identify that person who is the data subject. So I stated here, the NDPA stipulates about 9 rights. But then there's certain terms that I want to clarify that we will be, talking about. The data controller. So who's a data controller? A data controller is an individual, could be an individual, a private entity, public commission, or agent. For collection, storage, and all of that involves or includes. Then the data controller or data processor of major importance, as defined by the Nigerian Data Protection Act, means a data controller or processor that is domiciled or ordinarily resident and operating in Nigeria and processes or intends to process personal data of more than such a number of data subjects who are within Nigeria, as the Commission may prescribe. The Commission in question here is the Nigerian Data Protection Commission that is established in the Nigerian Data Protection Act. So it could also be such other class of data controller or data processor that is processing personal data of particular value or significance to the economy, society, or security of Nigeria, as the Commission may designate. A data processor means an individual, private entity, public authority or agency, or any other body who processes personal data on behalf of or at the direction of the data controller or any other processor. Section 65 of the Nigerian Data Protection Act is very instructive and details this if you want to maybe do further research on that. So the rights of the data subject under the Nigerian Data Protection Act, because that is the act, the principal data legislation, data protection legislation in Nigeria, it stipulates about 9 rights that this data subject is entitled to. The first one is the right to access information, the right to erasure, the right to rectification of data, the right to restrict processing of data, the right to object processing of data, the right to lodge a complaint, the right to not be subject to automated decision-making, the right to data portability.
Good afternoon.
And the right to withdraw consent. Okay, so very quickly, I would just talk about these rights. So the first one, the first one, which is the right to access information, stipulated under section 35A, particularly subsections I to 1 to 4, it means that the data subject, that is the individual whose personal data is being processed, being collected, being stored by the data processor or controller, has the right to obtain from that data controller or processor, which is usually an organization, without any constraint or unreasonable delay, information or confirmation as to whether or not the data operator or processor is operating on its behalf, whether they are storing this data, and where that is the case, the data subject has the right to know the purpose, like why are they storing this data? They need to tell them, okay, this is what the data is going to be used for, lawful purpose. They need to know the category of personal data. They are entitled to know the category of personal data concerned. They're also entitled to know the recipients or categories of recipients to whom this personal data will be disclosed, particularly if these recipients are in, another country or an international organization. They are supposed to know what safeguards are in place and whatnot. They are entitled to that. And where it is possible, they are also entitled to have information as to what period this data will be retained for, will be stored. And if it is not possible to determine, if it's not possible to, give a specific time, the criteria that will be used to determine the period, because you can't just store personal data like that in perpetuity. There has to be a time where, these data processors or controllers have to, do a discard this data that they have in their possession. So the data subject has the right to know that. And this is section 35 tells us this. The second right is the right to erasure. It's basically the right to have your data deleted. Like I said, they don't have the right, the data processor or controller does not have the right to store this data in perpetuity. Like it doesn't have the right to keep it forever. So stipulated under section 35A by V, and which is the most commonly invoked right, it entails that, a data subject can request that, this data controller or organization have data about them erased from their system. And I think it's very similar to the right to be forgotten. You have that right to have your personal data, erased from their system. And it includes, it's not just the physical data, it includes the data that is stored in their cloud storage, and the data controller, that is the organization, is mandated to honor such a request within the time specified under the law from the receipt of that request. However, I stated that the Nigerian Data Protection Act fails to provide for a specific time to respond to the data subject's request, unlike the regulation which was in place before, that is the Nigerian Data Protection Regulation. And I also want to note here that the organization, that is the data controller or processor, has the competence to reject this request on a number of grounds, especially on when they are legal grounds. For instance, in events that the data is subject to a legal retention period, there are certain data or certain organizations that you give your data to, and based on laws and rules and regulations that exist in that sector, they are permitted to retain that data for a specific period of time. So that means this right is not absolute. So for example, I put it's here that it's a common occurrence for the financial services provider who are legally required by the anti-money laundering laws. Sorry about that. To retain transaction data for a predetermined period of time. So until that time elapses, they have the right to retain such data controllers and processors have the right to retain, such information about the data subject. So very quickly, the third right is the right to rectification of data. This is basically the right to correct, the right to update personal data by the data subject. So like I said here, it denotes that the data subject can, by way of request, instruct the data controller or processor to have their data corrected or updated in situations where such an information has either changed or become obsolete. So for instance, if your marital status has changed, if you were married before and maybe you are divorced now or separated, or if you were single and you got married, or you changed your name, whatever the case may be, you have a right to make a request to the data controller or organization, whatever organization is processing, storing your data, to have that information about you updated to what it is currently. And that and the Act also provides that where the correction of incorrect or incomplete or misleading data is not feasible, such data can be deleted instead. I think this is done so just to avoid any sort of misinterpretation or confusion. So rather than have such data out there, you can choose to have it deleted. The fourth right is the right to restrict processing of data. So data subjects are entitled to request a data controller, data processor, or an organization to discontinue processing their data for specific purpose. And this is known as the right to restrict processing of personal data. So you can actually request that they either stop processing your data. That is, they either not store or not, collect or gather that information about you. This right is contained in section 35, sub A5. and it may be utilized in specific situations, such as when, there's disparity over the accuracy of the data, when the individual does not want the data to be erased, when the data is no longer required for the intended purpose, but cannot be deleted, for legal reasons or concerns, or when decision regarding the person's objection is to processing is still pending. So you can request that they restrict processing of such data. That data subject has a right to do that. However, the data controller or processor can still retain that personal data, but will not process it further when when this right has been invoked. I think it's very similar to I will speak about that as we continue discussion. So the fifth one is the right to object the processing of personal data. So section 37 sub 1 of the Nigerian Data Protection Act provides that data subjects they have the right to object the processing of their personal data relating to them. So where this right has been invoked by the data subject, the data controller or the data processor or organization shall immediately discontinue the processing of personal data. And it is worthy to note that, in sub 2 of section 37, the right to object is not an absolute one. So there are situations where the request will not be granted. For instance, if there is an overriding public interest, for instance, if such data, is subject to some form of investigation, or there is a, legitimate, compelling interest that overrides, the fundamental freedom. Our rights are not absolute. Where your rights stop, someone else's rights begin. So if there are other legitimate interests that are overriding your fundamental rights, you cannot, object to the processing of such a data. And section 37 sub 3 and 4 allows the data subject to object the processing of their personal data, particularly for marketing purposes, at any time. So if your data, or for instance, your phone number, you are giving your phone number to, say, for instance, Cold Stone, and they keep sending you those messages from Cold Stone, from Debonians, you have the right at whatever time to request that, such messages stop coming to you. They do not put your number on their mailing list or whatever it is. At any time, you have the right, and such rights, that particular right under the Data Protection Act, is absolute. The sixth right, under the Act is the right to lodge a complaint. And this complaint will be lodged to the Commission, like I mentioned earlier, the Nigerian Data Protection Commission. And by virtue of section 35 sub A6, a data subject possesses the right to lodge a complaint with the Nigerian Data Protection Commission if they wish to request a corrective action, or if they are dissatisfied with, the data controller or data processor's decision, action, or inaction. So you can lodge a complaint if there's a violation of your rights or whatever it is. You are free to, proceed to the commission and lodge a complaint in this regard. And in addition to this, you have also an option to file a civil lawsuit seeking for damages from a data controller or processor for material losses when this processing has led you to some you've encountered quantitative loss. The Data Protection Act only gives civil remedies when the harm or the loss is material. That is, it has to be some kind of financial loss. Then you can approach the court, for civil remedies that you have encountered as a result of this infraction. The seventh right is the right to not be subject to automated decision making. As we all know now, AI is, I think, is becoming a part of our reality now. Artificial intelligence and machine systems that process data, that get things done without even any human intervention. They use these systems are being used for recruiting and so many other purposes. So it's a novel right under the Data Protection Act, because previously the Nigerian Data Protection Regulation, which was the data protection legislation we had before the Data Protection Act was signed into law, only provided that they should be notified of the use of automated decision making. So previously, you were only, you only had, if they were only going to notify you that, oh, look, we are using an artificial intelligence system or a machine or whatever it is to process your data. And, they'll give you the right to either move your data. If you're not comfortable with that, you can port your data, you can invoke the right of portability. But now, the Nigerian Data Protection Act allows data subjects to object to a decision that has been reached solely based on an automated processing of personal data without any human intervention, particularly where this, processing has, an effect on the data subject. For instance, where an AI tool or system is used to screen you as a job applicant, because you give in some form of data, the data on your CV, your educational history, your background, you turn it in when you are applying for a job, and they've used this, artificial intelligence system to screen you, and you are being rejected solely based on the outcome of that screening alone. You are entitled to, object that decision pursuant to Section 38 sub 1 of the Data Protection Act. However, this automated decision making is allowed if it is part of fulfilling a contract between the data controller and the data subject, provided that there are laws that are written to protect the data subject's rights and the interest if the data subject has given the permission. So there has to be you have to notify the person that, oh, look, we are going to be processing your data using an artificial intelligence system, ATS, whatever it is. So once you, the data subject, you agree, so that on that ground, it can be allowed. So for example, like I said here, where a data subject is to purchase a book from an online bookstore, and the platform has an automated system that immediately checks for factors like stock availability, that's if the book is available, to help you do your shipping address and, payment validity to ensure that there's a seamless transaction, then such an automated decision making may be justified because the purchaser is when you see those terms and conditions that they say, oh, condition, it'll be nice, it'll be good. So as such, so the data controller, in this case, when you have notified the subject that, yes, look, we are going to be processing your data using, an automated system, they should ensure that there are suitable measures to safeguard the data subject's fundamental rights, freedoms, and interests, such as the right to obtain human intervention on the part of the data controller, to express your point of view, or to even contest the decision. So there should be safeguards in as much as, they can still use some form of automated. There must be safeguards in place. The protect you, the data subject, is to safeguard your data processing rights. So there must be safeguards, irrespective of the fact that, yes, you can automated decision making can be allowed in certain instances. So the eighth right is the right to data portability. And I don't know if we can remember, there was a popular MTN advert, I don't portal. It was really popular back then. It's basically moving your data in layman's say, moving it from one organization to another. That is what this right basically entails. So it consists of 3 separate requests. And the first one is that the data subject is entitled to prompt delivery of their data in a structured, generally utilized or understandable and machine-readable format, which could be either PDF or whatever form it is, but you are entitled to prompt delivery of your data in a structured form. And then the second one is that there should be no hindrances, that's no obstructions in the way of the data subject's rights to transmit the readable data to another organization. So if you want to port, for instance, now, nothing stops you as an Airtel user from porting your number to MTN and vice versa. There should be no hindrance. There should be no, obstruction. So you can request to your data processor, your data controller, that, look, I want my data moved from this organization to another organization. Nothing stops you from doing that under the Nigerian Data Protection Act. And this is stipulated in section 39 to A to C. And I say here that the Nigerian Data Protection Commission is empowered under section 39 sub 1 and 3 of the Nigerian Data Protection Act to make rules establishing the right of personal data portability. So this commission is empowered. The commission is empowered to make rules and prescribe conditions and circumstances under which the right to data portability may be exercised and what obligations will be imposed on the data controllers or data processors in relation to cost and timing. So the commission makes these rules as regards data portability. So it's just basically porting your data, porting your information from one place, one data controller, one data processor to another. So you have that right as a data subject. Then the 9th right is the right to withdraw consent. As we all know, informed consent is the bedrock of privacy protection. Thus, the NDPA in section 36 of 1 empowers you to withdraw such consents at any time. If you notice, before you go into any transaction, and you have to give consent, else there's no policy anyway. There will be no rights. If you are not giving that consent, such an organization cannot proceed with processing, collecting, or storing such a data. And you have the right under the NDPA to withdraw such consent at any time. And likewise, subsection 2 provides that data controllers and processors are obligated to make it easy. They're supposed to make it seamless for you to withdraw such consent, because it's always very easy to give consent. It's always, oh, I agree, or click, I have agreed, or I have read the terms. It's usually very easy. Most times we don't even go through these terms and conditions. We just click agree. So what the act is saying is that it should be as easy as withdrawing your consent should be made as easy as giving your consent. So if you have provided your consent in an easy to understand manner, the data controller ought to ensure that the withdrawal of such consent is easy and is unimpeded. And then lastly, it is essential to recognize that the lawfulness of data processing carried out by the data controller on the basis of consent prior to the data subject withdrawal remains unaffected by the withdrawal of the consent. So even if you have withdrawn consent and there's already a lawful processing, or this data has already been been used for some, like I said earlier, there are certain organizations that, based on such organizations, store such data, they can keep such data. Even if you have withdrawn consent, for as long as that time, hasn't elapsed, they can still, because of that consent you had given earlier, still lawfully process such data in accordance to the consent that was given earlier. So just very quickly, we'll just briefly just look at how you can enforce these rights. They are rights, but how do you enforce them? You know that, okay, you have the right to erasure, right to rectification, and all of that. But how do you enforce these rights? So Section 47, Section 47 of the Nigerian Data Protection Act provides that a data subject that is aggrieved by the decision, action, or inaction of the data processor or controller who has violated the act or any other subsidiary legislation would lodge a complaint. We already know you have the right to lodge a complaint with the commission. So to
Hello, can you hear me? Or is it my network? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
So it's my
I think
network.
it's from my end.
Uh, network doesn't want us to shine today. Okay, let's give us a few minutes. I apologize. Maybe to log back in. We've been kicked out. Apologies, everyone. It's our network issue. Network issue. Okay, she'll join back soon. While we're waiting for her to join back, if you have any question, you can drop it in the chat. Questions for her, you can drop it in the chat. Or once she's done, you can just raise your hand and ask the question. Apologies for the delay.
Hi, sorry, I didn't know I had gone off. I was just speaking. Um,
It's fine. It's fine.
okay. Where did I go off from? Because I'm almost done. I just have like 2 slides left.
Enforcement. We're about to start enforcement of the rights.
Okay, let me just quickly share because I'm almost done. Okay. Okay, so yes, like I was saying, an aggrieved data subject can, lodge a complaint to the commission with the commission where such a data subject is affected or aggrieved by the decision of the data controller. And the commission, on the other hand, is to investigate such a complaint. And where they are satisfied that, yes, the data subject has an interest or a right in the matter to which a complaint relates, and such a complaint is not frivolous or vexatious, then they will initiate an investigation of their own. And where they have the cause to believe that such a data processor or controller has violated or is likely to violate the act or any regulations, the commission may now order, for the purpose of an investigation, order any person to attend at a specific time and place for the purpose of being examined orally in relation to the complaint, produce such a document, record, or article as may be required with respect to any matter relevant to the investigation, which the person is not prevented by any other written law from disclosing, and furnish a statement in writing made under oath or affirmation, setting out all the information which will be required under the order. So for the purpose of their investigation, they will request for these information. And then where material to which an investigation relates consists of information stored in any document, record, minutes, mechanical or electronic device, the commission may require the person named to produce or give access to inspect it in a form which is visible and legible in a structured, commonly used machine-readable format. So where this information is stored, for the purpose of the investigation, they'll be asked to produce this information to the commission, and where the commission may, where necessary, make representations to the data controller or data processor on behalf of the complainant, or the complainant on behalf of relevant data controller or processor as the commission deems appropriate. So in course of the investigation, where it is necessary, they will allow either the controller, the processor to make representations in respect to this complaint, or they'll allow the complainant as well to make some form of representation for himself. And then the commission is to establish a section that shall receive and follow up complaints from data subject and conduct investigation. So to enforce this right, you are to, make a complaint to the commission to, state your grievances, and they'll take it up from there. That's basically the first step. And also, Section 48 of the NDPA also provides that where the commission is satisfied that this data controller or processor has violated or is likely to violate any requirements under the act, the commission is to make appropriate compliance order against such a data controller or processor. And the order may be made by the commission under this order that will be made, this compliance order, may include any of the following. It could either be a warning, that certain acts or omissions are likely to be a violation, or more provisions one or more provisions under the act, or it could be a requirement that they could require the data controller or processor to comply with these provisions, including complying with the request of the data subject to exercise one or more rights under this act. And they could also, give a cease and desist order that will require the data controller or processor to stop or refrain from doing an act that is in violation of the act, including stopping or refraining from processing personal data that is, subject of this order. And then subsection 3 of 48 states that an order made under this section shall be in writing. This compliance order, it shall be in writing, and it shall specify the provisions of this act, the provisions of this act that the commission is satisfied that the data controller or processor has violated or is likely to violate the act. It could be in case of an actual violation, specific measures taken, they could make specific, measures, set out specific measures to be taken by the data controller or processor to avoid or remedy or eliminate the situation which has resulted in violation. Or in the case of an actual violation, a period within which, this data controller or a processor, will implement such measures. Yeah, in the case of an actual violation, then you have a right to judicial review under Section 51 of the Act. And Section 51 says that any person that's a data subject that is not, satisfied with the order of the commission may apply to the appropriate court within 30 days after the date that the order has been made for judicial review thereof. And Section 52 provides for civil remedies. Where a data subject has suffered injury, loss, or harm as a result of a violation, such a data subject may recover by way of damages of civil proceedings in the appropriate courts for you can request for damages from a civil proceedings against such a data processor or controller. So thank you guys for listening. I hope this was instructive. Thank you.
Thank you, Favour, for the insightful talk, the first presentation rather. We really learned a lot. If you have any question, you can raise your hand. We already have one question in the chat room.
Okay.
Then you spoke out about how easy it is to give consent given access to our data, and how easy it should be to withdraw such a consent at any time. So what will you recommend with regards to the ease of withdrawing consent? Because I personally find withdrawal of such consent to be mostly cumbersome. And then when you eventually get the request of withdrawal to them, you get a message on how it might take days to take effect, while it didn't take days for the consent I have to be acknowledged. So what will you recommend as a way to make consent withdrawal as easy as giving it?
Well, I don't know. I think that for me, the act is already, clear on this. Withdrawing consent should be as easy as giving. So I think in a case like this, the best thing for the data subject to do would be to approach the commission. Look, I gave my consent to these people, to this organization, and I'm trying to withdraw my consent, and the rules are, cumbersome, they are tight. You can lodge a complaint in that case. I think that this would be a good avenue for a data subject to lodge a complaint, because the act is clear. It should be, the withdrawing of your consent should be as easy as giving the consent, because consent is the bedrock for this protection. Is the bedrock. Without giving consent, your data should not be, processed, it should not be collected, it should not be stored. So I think that if there's a case like this, my recommendation would be to, approach the commission by way of making a complaint. Look, this is what happened, this is the situation. That's what I think will be, the best recommendation in such a situation. I hope that helps.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other question?
I don't really have a question, but I have a comment.
Okay.
Like sometime last year when I was applying for jobs, I noticed that when they do reply me with emails, they usually include like your CV and information will be stored for the next 9 months, and after that it's going to be processed and then deleted. I didn't really understand why. I noticed it with like different organizations. I didn't really understand why they were including that in email. I was like, what's happening? But you explaining it now that it's according to the Data Protection Act makes me like, it clicks in my head that, oh, okay, that's why they were doing that, to protect themselves, to protect the subject. So it doesn't make sense. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It was a nice session.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Favour, for the session. Any comments? Okay. So no comments. Absence of any other comment or question. Thank you. We'll go back to Yemisi to complete our presentation. Thank you, Favour. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Favour, for that. And everyone, I sincerely apologize. Our Nigerian network I
No
didn't even
problem.
know that I thought I had finished presenting before I
Wow.
noticed. So Percy will be sharing from my end. Yeah, so we can monitor it. Thank you. So I saw that you guys lost me when I started the methods. Percy, can you please share your screen? When I started the methods in which cyber criminals mine our data. So I will just do a brief overview of what we've talked about and we'll move on. And I'll try to be as fast as possible since our time is fast spent.
Give me a minute. I'm trying to share my screen right now.
Okay.
Can you see my screen? Hello?
Not yet. Not yet.
What about now? Can you see it now?
Okay. Yeah, I can. Yes. Okay. So please, next slide. To the third slide, actually. Okay, so I've actually given a brief discussion of how this cyber threats, malware, talking about SQL and making mention of MFA, even though being a security measure, can be bypassed, and also talking about the DDoS. Please, the next slide. So I gave brief overview and some examples of these cyber trends, cybersecurity trends that pose significant risk. I talked about working from home, how it became more prevalent after the COVID-19 issues. Then I made mention of the omni-channel, giving users a reason to want to believe that there is these channels actually provide authenticity, whereas at the end of it all, you will discover that you have actually been infected with malwares. I also talked about the IoT vulnerabilities. We all use these Internet of Things, and the more they are getting more, developers are bringing in more IoT devices, right? And the more you develop more, the more we are bringing about security issues to ourselves, right? Even to our household. Then I talked about users as an attack surface, talking about human being the weakest link. We are the ones that attackers want to access first before they access either nation, family member, where you work, and also talking about the health sector, how them facing a cyber attack can be really fatal. It could even lead towards the loss of life. Please, the next slide. Then I explained what data mining is as being the process of extracting knowledge from large data sets. And cyber criminals, all they need to do is to collect and do what? To analyze those personal information of yours. Could be your name, your address, credit card numbers, BVN, your social security number. And getting all this, they want to use it to do what? To commit either identity theft, impersonation, fraud, or other crimes. And yes, it's where okay, so now we are here. Methods that cyber criminals actually make use of to mine our data. They use the social engineering attacks. This could be tailgating, that is, you as a valid as an employee, you have your card, that is your ID card and your access card with you, and you want to go into a biometric enabled door. But there is somebody who is actually an attacker, somebody who doesn't even have all this identity that you have behind you, and you don't know, you are not aware. You go in with your ID card and you use your access card and you go in, but the person follows you in without you being aware. By the time the person performs an attack on your organization, you are the one that is going to be recorded as the person that entered as at that time. The person has used your own valid words, your own valid credentials to do what, to go in. Another one could even be cyberbullying. They are social engineering attacks. Attackers will try to make use of things that they have against you to do what? To get your own personal information. They want to use to get more from you and do what? And come against you at a later time. Phishing could come in form of you receiving mails. That is why it's usually said that you need to verify where you are getting an email from. You don't just click links that you see from anywhere. You receive an email that is saying that your boss telling you to come to send an important document immediately. You're supposed to watch very well, be very, very careful, watch it and be know your boss's email very well and ensure that it has not been typo spotted. It is not something that maybe instead of boss one, you're seeing boss I. You need to identify it and be very sure. You want to check the what, the IP, the headers of the email, of the mail being sent to you. It could even be through phishing. You can be voice called, and they would even try to tell you that they are a family member. You want to confirm before you do what? Before you send things that you're not supposed to send. It could even be in form of SMS. I'm very sure we all, if not all, most of us receive strange messages that will say, call so 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 person, call Mr. Moses to receive 50K. I have a job for you that is going to pay you 20,000 naira per hour. You want to be careful of these kind of messages. The moment you get them, just delete them. Messages that just send you link and you don't even know where it's coming from, delete them with immediate effect. Man in the middle attack, they are going to try to interrupt a valid communication between two individuals. They are what these attackers are trying to do is that they are trying to bring about miscommunication. I'm trying to send a message to Posi, and somebody has one way or the other bypassed our communication, changes the message I sent to Posi and tells Posi something else. Could either bring about miscommunication, bring about disruption, and even could even get informations. The attack the bypasser can even get information that is not supposed to get from us. You want to also know that software vulnerabilities are becoming more rampant now. And as individuals, we want to ensure that we have our antiviruses on our devices. In organizations, you want to have your firewalls, your EDRs, that is your detection and response software enabled already on your devices. Another one is the distributed denial of service. This is an attack that is going to ensure that is going to disrupt the perfect running of operation. It could be on a site, on a website where customers are supposed to access, but because an attacker has decided to ensure that these customers don't get the perfect thing they want from these sites, they begin to get disruptions. They'll start complaining. They'll start sending complaints to the customer rep that you guys site is not working at all, and it's going to bring about disruption. It's going to bring about distrust even in your customers. And we as individuals, I believe that we have faced distributed denial of service attacks one way or the other. You're trying to access a site, it's telling you that there's a downtime. You're trying to access a site, it's telling you that something is going on, that you should try again later. And lastly, the methods that cyber criminals that they use to do or to mine our data is cracking of passwords. That is one of the reasons why we always say that ensure that you have strong passwords. Use MFA. As much as MFA can be bypassed, you want to still use it. And this is where changing your password regularly comes in. When I say changing your password, I don't mean you should change your password every week. You might want to give it a time interval of 3 months, right? Just give it a time interval of 3 months. Even if you are using an MFA, you want to still change your password every 3 months so that in case there's anything you want to do it immediately, you know that okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. My passwords and my details are still safe. My brother recently lost his phone, and what did he do? Immediately he lost his phone. he reached out to me. The account he had is the account he had his details. He has his money. He had to quickly call me that I should access that account. I should help him access the account. I should help him change the password. I discovered that I could change password, but I could not set up OTP because the line has not been retrieved. So I told him that he should go immediately to go and retrieve the line. After retrieving the line, I was able to set up a new OTP. You get another a two-factor authenticator so that whoever it is that stole his phone, the person will no longer have access to his details. The person will no longer have access to this his bank account details. So I set up a 2FA for him and I was accessing it from my end, ensuring that whoever stole his phone has no access to that. And I told him, log into your email and what and log out your what? Your phone. Log out every of your email that the person that stole your phone can actually use to set up 2FA on your device and actually blocking you out of your own device. You want to do what? Ensure that we are putting up please next slide, Percy. You want to ensure that you're putting up strong passwords and updating your passwords regularly. So one way or the other, I've talked about how we can protect ourselves from those methods. But now let's go through some of these. How can I protect myself from data mining? Number one, you want to ensure that you're mindful of what you share online. We are in the age of social media, right? And we have a whole lot of things that we want to let people know. You are going for an event, you want to let people know that I'm going for this event, join me somewhere. Okay, you want to have fun with friends. I'm going to a hotel. Presently in a hotel, chilling with my friends. You want to ensure that you want to you keep your people up to date. But whereas you want to be very careful that this information is not wrong to share them actually, but it is wrong to share them at some particular point in time. I want to go chill with my friends. I want to go and have like an hangout with my friends. I could take pictures, take records of it, but then I would not post it the day I am actually there. I could decide to post it the day after that I was somewhere. But that does not mean that I'm going back to that place. But if you know that you are a regular somewhere, you used to go somewhere on a regular note, you're now letting people know that today they know that you're in a hotel. Next tomorrow, they know that you're in a hotel. By next week, they know that on Tuesday, every 2 p.m., Yemisi is always in a hotel. I hope you are aware that you are making yourself really liable for attackers to come against you because if they know that okay, maybe Yemisi has money. I'm not rich, right? Okay, I'm rich, but you want you want people to know that okay, Yemisi is rich, oh, and I've noticed that she's always in a hotel by 2 p.m. You do what they know that okay, this is where she is, and that way they could actually come attack you one way or the other. Even online, what you share online, you're sharing details of your family members. My mommy, Mrs. Lagbaja, Lagbaja, my younger brother, this, that. They can mine all these little data that you have shared over the time. It could even be a period of years that you have been sharing this data, and they will call somebody and they'll tell you that okay, I want to speak with somebody. My name is this. Are you not Yemisi? Is your mommy not this? I know your date of birth. You were born on this. And they start giving you details that you would not even imagine. This person definitely knows me. This person definitely, you would be thinking that the person is actually a legitimate person, whereas the person is not legitimate. So you want to be very careful of what you share online. Let's move. We've talked about using strong and unique passwords already, and you want to be cautious with links. You receive an email, you want to be very careful to be sure that that is why they say when you see an email that the link is not full, that is maybe when you see it says click here, you want to hover around that the HERE there. You want to hover around it to see the full words, the full link, to know if it is valid or not. And there are sites online say that you could even use to check. There's the abuse IP, there's virus total. This could help you to do what? To identify if a link is malicious or not. And before you download attachments on your email, you want to ensure that you don't just download anything. Be very, very sure of who is sending you a message before you just click download. Another thing is you want to keep your software updated. It is in organizations, even as individuals on our devices, phone, tablets, whatever it is that you're making use of. we have softwares, and you want to ensure that you are keeping them up to date. It is something that they are saying every now and then. Ensure that your softwares are up to date. You don't want to keep ignoring software updates. Do not, because it is very, very dangerous. Very dangerous. And you want to ensure that you install security softwares on your devices. You want to ensure that you have valid antiviruses. In an organization, you want to ensure that you have firewalls and you have EDRs in place to do what? To keep you abreast of all these cyber attacks. Then while you are trying to connect to a public Wi-Fi, you are traveling, you don't have your internet connection there, and you want to connect to a public Wi-Fi, you want to ensure that you have your VPN turned on. Ensure that your VPN is turned on so that your device, the location, and everything about you is not known. The VPN is going to provide like a proxy to help you. It's going to obstruct details about you and things that are actually about you from your own device. Another thing is you want to be aware of these social engineering tactics. We've talked about phishing, we've talked about tailgating, we've talked about cyberbullying. You want to be aware of all these social engineering tactics and how to have and how to do what to avoid being a victim of all these things. And if you are a victim of cyberbullying, you don't want to keep silent. You want to ensure that you tell somebody that could actually help you to stop being bullied. Because even the bully can actually tell you that if you tell so person, I'm going to release this about you. I'm going to possibly they're going to put up threats. But you want to ensure that you go meet somebody that would help you to do what? To stop that bullying. Then you want to educate yourself and stay informed. By educating yourself and staying informed is attending webinars like this. That when Favour was talking, she was talking about the legal aspects, things that we could do. I never even knew that you could say that, okay, I agree to the consent of sharing my data, and also decide to say that I no longer want it. You get? So you want to attend webinars like this. You want to follow people that actually share news about cybersecurity, how to keep yourself safe online. You want to read Medium posts. You want to follow people on LinkedIn, Twitter, read news that actually would benefit you and help you to stay informed. And one thing I would also want to say is you might not be somebody that you might not be a cybersecurity personnel, but that doesn't mean that you should not inform people about the gospel of cybersecurity. It is just like the gospel of Christ that the moment you are told, you are not expected to just keep quiet, right? You want to go out and share it to others. The same thing as the gospel of cybersecurity. Let your family members know about it. The little you know, let your family members know. Because if you do not tell your family members, if you do not tell your friends, they could be the link that will be used to do what? To access you. You might think that you are well secured, but your family member might be the one that will be what? That will be used to access you. I pray. So please, next slide. I think I was already believing that I'm preaching. I'm sorry. So we move on to the conclusion. We know that cybersecurity is an ongoing responsibility and it's essential to want to do what to stay vigilant and proactive in protecting your data and your privacy. Following all these steps that we've discussed is going to help us to do what? To stay informed and help us to also minimize the risk of falling victim to all these data mining techniques. And also remember, you are better safe than sorry. It's better to be cautious than later regretful. Thank you very much. I If there's any question, I think you can either drop it on the chat box or in.
Thank you very, very much, Yemisi. Thank you. She all preach the cybersecurity gospel. So please, any question, comments, opinion, addition, you can drop it in the chat box or raise up your hand and we will call you. That was a mistake. Okay. In the absence of any question, I just have like a comment on addition, like that one of the amebas of the internet is Google. Then I would like everybody to like go to their Google accounts and remove their histories, try to remove the location, like disable location, because Google steals a lot and saves a lot. I'm sure I'm not the only one that has received something like where you were 10 years ago. Or where so Google saves a lot of information, a lot of data, and uses it for things we don't approve of. So Yemisi and Favour, I really, really appreciate you people for the insightful presentations. Thank you so much. And for everyone here, thank you for attending. As cybersecurity is everybody's business, it's not just for a selected few. We are all here to keep our cyberspace safe in our own little ways. So please preach the gospel, as Yemisi has said. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Percy. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank
Thank
you
you,
for joining.
Yemisi.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you. Recording will be shared to everyone that registered. So even if you joined late, we'll share the recording. Thank you, everyone. So that's the wrap.
Thank you. It was such a nice webinar.
Thank you,
Thank
Percy.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you
Bye.
for
Thank
attending.
you, Maxwell.